Welcome to another edition of the OUinsider.com podcast. I'm joined by OUI staff writer Colin Kennedy. Colin, dude, first things first. Hal Mumme gets destroyed by Cam Artis-Payne on the sideline. Coaches through the rest of the 27-20 loss, and my favorite reaction out of all this, he retweets a video of him getting annihilated. It says, "I'm not soft." Like, yo. Like, how old is Hal Mumme?
That's a bad man right there. He breaks his leg, and we don't talk about this enough. Not only did he call the game for, 2.5 quarters, but he led a comeback effort that almost got completed against the undefeated Houston Roughnecks. Like, he almost pulled it off. He was calling plays that executed for 3-point conversions, and he still had one leg. I mean, we don't talk about this enough. This guy was insane out there.
No, man, it was losing effort. Landry Jones goes down with the knee injury.
Yeah.
What do you expect from this team for the rest of the season? I mean, they were picked to win the whole damn thing, and now it feels like it's Houston's league right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I didn't necessarily expect them to pull off the win over Houston because the Roughnecks are just that darn good. They did make P.J. Walker look somewhat human, though, and that's a first this XFL season. The thing is, though, that Dallas's defense is really good, but the offense is still kind of fluctuating. I mean, Donald Parham, Cameron Artis-Payne, Lance Dunbar, kind of that big three of weapons for the Renegades right now is pretty much held in check. Jeff Badette, my guy, has just been collecting dust. Like, someone get that man the football. He is an electric playmaker, and yet somehow they can't throw him the damn rock. I don't know. I think expectations have to be kept somewhat in check when it comes to the Dallas Renegades. I mean, it's not going to be all that easy for them to get through the West. I know they have the Guardians coming up this weekend. I was going to go out there, but now I'm scheduled to go down to Houston again. So we'll see. I think it's I don't want to call it a must-win this weekend against New York, but at the same time, it kind of feels like it, right? I mean, especially with Philip Nelson likely taking the quarterback job in replacement of Landry Jones, who suffered that knee injury, like you mentioned. I want to say that it was a re-aggravation of the left knee he suffered in training camp for the Renegades. So timetable's probably 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more. But at this stage, when you have a backup quarterback who did not look very good in week one, taking the field against a Guardians team that isn't that good, but I think won last week against the Wildcats, now you're kind of saying, like, okay, if they don't get the win, this thing could get out of hand quickly.
So we can't get Eastern Michigan's finest, the Broback of snaps, because I'm out on the Philip Nelson experiment. I'm out on it. The dude can't throw the ball past 7 yards. I can't do that. It's driving me nutty. Like, Hal Mumme is the progenitor of the air raid offense, and he's got a quarterback that really can't throw the ball past the sticks. And I'm going, oh God, and this,
yeah.
You drafted Landry Jones first so that he could lead you, and frankly, he's been underwhelming. I mean, he's had just as much of an effect to just destroying offensive opportunities as he has, demoing bathrooms, which apparently is a thing that he was doing at one point. But I don't know, man. Maybe it's just let's just run the damn ball. Let's just hand the ball to Cam Artis-Payne and Lance Dunbar, and then hope that the defense can keep up, because I'm with you. It's a make or break game for me with the New York Guardians. I believe that game is Saturday, correct?
Yes, it's
okay.
Saturday, and I believe it's the mid-afternoon kick, so 3 p.m. Central.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but It will be interesting. I call Philip Nelson the most boring name in football because, my goodness, that's probably the only interesting thing about him. But, yeah, he's got to get it done this weekend if the Renegades want any shot at this thing moving forward.
And now I got to talk a bit about old Robert Anthony, because old Robert Anthony is not having it. He does not like the new XFL. Like, my man gets on the microphone, the headset, and he's just not into it. He's here to coach ball, and then you get him into the locker room, and I get wanting to coach ball, but I thought maybe Robert Anthony was going to loosen up just a little bit, and it doesn't seem to be so. It seems to be all photos and, great social media savvy by the XFL Twitter account and the Dallas Renegades Twitter account, because that's the Robert Anthony we all know from 2016.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand frustrations around it, right? You mentioned that the XFL right now is basically just a glorified social media product, which I think is correct to a degree, but we also have to understand, I mean, you brought up Landry Jones' situation. The guy has been throwing 2 interceptions a half, then he threw 3 interceptions in a quarter this past week. But I think it's also a valuable reminder for whoever the doubters may be, whether it's Anthony or go down the line, is that these guys are playing for the love of the game and just for another opportunity. But at the same time, they haven't necessarily been involved with the game that much. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Landry Jones hadn't started the game in 777 days until he took the field against the Wildcats in week 2. And so, I don't know, man. I want to see this league succeed, right? I really do. I think it's a great platform for guys that deserve another shot. But at the same time, it's hard right now to completely validate how valuable it is when the product on the field is not up to the national eyes standard, if you know what I mean.
Well, they've already made it past the halfway point of the alliance, right? The Alliance of American Football.
Which is big.
Right, that's massive. And I've said many times, in beginning a business, any business at all, you need time and you need money. And what we find with rich folks like Vince McMahon is they'll say, yeah, you have time. But as they watch money continue to just circle the drain, rich people didn't get rich by watching money go out the window. That said, I'm going to lay a stat on you. Because, we work in media and I pay attention to sports media and I eat the stuff up just reading about ourselves, find out that entry-level writers at The Athletic are making $50,000. And I bring that up to say, that's the salary for an XFL player. And I'm going, I wonder what that must feel like for some of these guys, right? Who, like you mentioned, Jeff Bedette, and his 4.27 40 that got him onto a practice squad at Minnesota. That man made 100 G's last year, like $110,000 as a member of the practice squad. So he finishes the season with the XFL, he'll make 50. Whereas you look around, and by the way, $50,000 for The Athletic is wildly that's an enormous number. I read the Washington Post on this, and it's fascinating to see what that website is doing. And not to get too far on that, but it's a new venture, right? Just like the XFL. Both of them are losing money right now, but both of them are bets that folks are buying into it. And I get that the football is not where we want it to be, but it's still on television. It's still a good enough product. And you have some stars that seem to be emerging, but I sometimes think that the coaches are who you want to be the stars and based on the broadcast. And some of them are good. Chuck Long, right? Jay Hayes, and others are not. Bob Stoops. Or you'll have Mark Trestman, who apparently just wants Taylor Cornelius to be his quarterback regardless, because I'm watching Quentin Flowers out there. I'm like, what are we doing? Why?
Oh, man.
It hurts me.
Frustrating, dude.
No, man. All right.
So, I don't get it. I don't get it, man.
Me neither. And I'm watching BJ Daniels go out there and try to make it happen. And by the way, Jim Zorn, I need to throw in there. He's been doing an excellent job, and I love June Jones and PJ Walker. But we spent almost 10 minutes on the XFL. Probably need to pivot to OU football. So I had posed this to you. Well, we'll get to players that we expect or we need to take, players that need to take a big step this spring. But a little bit.